Today's reading is from the book of Exodus, chapter 31, verses 12 through 17. Instructions for keeping the Sabbath. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, be sure to keep my Sabbaths, because the Sabbath is a sign between me and you in every generation, so you will know that I am the Lord who makes you holy. Keep the Sabbath, because it is holy for you. Everyone who violates the Sabbath will be put to death. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath, that person will be cut off from the people. Do your work for 6 days, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of complete rest that is holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day will be put to death. The Israelites should keep the Sabbath. They should observe the Sabbath in every generation as a covenant for all time. It is a sign forever between me and the Israelites, that in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day the Lord rested and was refreshed." This is the word of the Lord.
Will you pray with me? May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, for you are our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Today's the third week in our series for August called God is at Hand. To find God's presence in our daily lives, we're taking a closer look at some things that we can actually hold in our hands. If we use the lens of faith, ordinary items like a yoga mat, an eraser, a salt shaker can remind us that God is with us every day. Today's object is a smartphone. These handheld devices have become an integral part of our daily lives, and so it really wasn't very hard for me to find some smartphone jokes. Why did the scientist research protective gear for smartphones? Because it was an interesting case study. Why might the concern about smartphones spying on us be a little overblown? Because vacuum cleaners have been picking up dirt on us for a long time. And what is the best phone app for putting your grandmother on speed dial? Instagram. Smartphones are not just for young people, of course. They span the generations. And here are a few statistics. 81% of Americans own a smartphone, and more than a third of them check their phones more than 50 times a day. 70% of all internet activity takes place on smartphones instead of desktop computers or laptops or tablets. And the average time that people spend on their smartphone is 171 minutes a day, nearly 3 hours. But all of this technology is not necessarily making us happier. The Institute for Humane Technology studied the effects of various smartphone apps, and they asked smartphone users which apps left them feeling happier and which apps left them with a feeling of regret. Some apps, like Google Photos, Kindle, the weather, Headspace, and Spotify, overwhelmingly contribute to a feeling of happiness. Other apps, like Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Tinder, and Candy Crush, have the opposite effect. They leave people feeling quite unhappy. And even if an app gives you a feeling of both happiness and unhappiness, the amount of unhappy time is 2.5 times greater than the happy time. Smartphones not only affect us individually, they also impact our interpersonal relationships. Lisa Wells describes the effect on her life. She says, "About a year ago, I noticed a distressing tendency in myself to drift off while the people I loved were talking. It didn't matter if they were talking about a book they read, a recent health problem, crushing grief, or revelations from therapy. Never before had I struggled to listen, but now I couldn't help checking out. Several times in the last year, she said, my husband has had to ask in the middle of the conversation, "Where did you go?" Lisa wondered what has been happening to her attention. Where did I go? Well, usually my mind turned me to the small computer in my pocket, to unanswered email, to a like or retweet, to a comment I found threatening or flattering. In giving my attention to the device, I withheld it from the person I value most. Smartphones have infiltrated our behavior in public as well. While on a dinner date, young couples pull out their smartphones to check messages, emails, and social networks. They may even look at their phones before looking at the menu, and then again repeatedly during the meal. Someone crossing the street has their eyes glued to their phone instead of monitoring their surroundings. I recently saw a man scrolling through an app on his phone while riding his bike. A toddler in a stroller plays with a digital device instead of observing the trees and the birds and the squirrels. Now, you know, I am not against technology, and I probably exceed the 3 hours per person per day average. At some point, however, I do think we cross the line of diminishing returns. Instead of a tool that enhances our life, our smartphones can become a distraction. One psychotherapist asks her clients, "What really matters to you in life?" Nancy Collier believes that we are spending far too much time doing things that don't really matter to us. She observes that many people have become disconnected from what really matters, from what makes us feel nourished and grounded as human beings. And if you think about it, that's what Sabbath is for. In Exodus, the Lord tells Moses why keeping Sabbath is so essential, saying, "Be sure to keep my Sabbaths, because the Sabbath is a sign between you and me in every generation. So you will know that I am the Lord who makes you holy. Keep the Sabbath, because it is holy for you." Walter Brueggemann points out that these instructions for Sabbath are from God's seventh speech to Moses on the mountain. But instead of giving Moses instructions for how to worship, God in this passage is emphasizing that Sabbath is a time for rest. Now, if you are hearing the passage, you may be alarmed, as I am, by the harsh penalty for not keeping Sabbath. Frankly, I don't know if anyone ever was put to death for not keeping Sabbath. But from my perspective, the punishment is really a hyperbole meant to reinforce the vital importance for the individual and the community of keeping Sabbath. Walter Brueggemann says that Sabbath is holy because it carries the power of life. God has given us life, not merely to exist, but to be blessed with dignity and freedom. Remembering that God delivered the Israelites from slavery, Brueggemann argues that Sabbath is our defense against the seduction of constant work and productivity. We all need Sabbath rest. Our bodies and minds and spirits are not made for ceaseless activity. We need to rest from constant outward tasks and internal anxiety. We need a time and place in our lives where the cares of the world fade away. Ironically, our smartphones need to rest too. They need to recharge as battery power diminishes, but they also need to shut down. Our devices need us to turn them off so they can stop working and reset. Otherwise, they get really buggy. I don't know if that's the technical term, but there are benefits to the phone when you turn it off. Turning off your phone helps it to retain memory, prevent crashes, run more smoothly, and prolong battery life. My phone has a feature called auto reset or auto restart so that it automatically shuts down and restarts while I'm sleeping once a week. Now, if our smartphones need to rest, reset, restart, and recharge, then so do we. Adele Calhoun describes Sabbath as God's gift of repetitive and regular rest. And the goal for Sabbath is delight for us and communion with our God. Some of her examples of practicing Sabbath include setting aside time with God and others we love, resting in God one day a week, letting go of things that stress you out for 24 hours, saving difficult conversations for another day, skipping the to-do list on Sundays, practicing relaxing or recreational activities such as walks, picnics, an afternoon nap, conversation with someone you love, tea or coffee with a friend, games with your family. This week I asked, what helps you recharge? One person said that walking her dog or working in her garden helps her recharge. Another person said that he reads the Upper Room daily devotion online every morning. He said, I find that reading it and praying the prayers provides a good start for the day. One woman said that her smartphone actually helps her recharge. As an introvert, being with other people can be draining to her. She said, being able to communicate with others if and when I choose via email or messages is much more manageable. Plus, I can read or listen to music on my cell phone. Another person said he enjoys being in nature. Recently, his family went backpacking in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. He said the complete lack of Wi-Fi and cellular service was a blessing. There was no possibility of checking work email or other internet distractions. We were forced to spend our time together around campfires, playing games, or simply talking. The lack of distractions, he said, combined with the beautiful wilderness around us, was a wonderful way to recharge. Another person said he likes to recharge with exercise. He enjoys mowing his yard and biking the trails along the Des Plaines River or along the Skokie Lagoons. Playing outside allows him to release the cares and the burdens of the moment and helps him reconnect with something else. So much of our life is integrated with our smartphone apps. Like our phones, sometimes we need to turn off and reset. We need time and space to rest and recharge and reorient ourselves to what really matters to us. Sabbath carries the power of life. It's a time of being in a culture of doing. It is God's rhythmic gift of rest, a delight for us, and communion with God. Amen.